So what we're going to be looking at here is the writing paragraphs for your poetry response. So I've been getting a lot of messages about this, so I think it's important to cover. So there's the basic way that you're going to write, which we're going to look at first in the unseen, and then there's the comparative way that you write, which we're going to touch upon here, just show you the extension that would actually go on from this poem, and then we're going to look at it being done in an A-star essay in the second video. So first and foremost, when you're answering this, you remember it's that basic English concept that you've always done. PEE. You make your point, you give some evidence, you give some explanation or analysis, whichever way you want to do it. So actually, just to make it make more sense, you can have an E or an A there. It's completely up to you, but they're the same thing. You explain it or you analyze it. They mean the same thing in this case. And then you link. So then you keep building it 2-3 times. Now, for your point, what you're going to do is you're going to rephrase the question as an opening element to your paragraph. So I've made up a mock question here just with this poem from the anthology Yellow Palm, and the focus here for us is going to be on this. How do you think the poet feels about conflict and his experience traveling, and how does the poem present these feelings? Every question is going to be set out the same. Okay, how do you think the poet feels about whatever it might be, and then how do they present it? So that's the two things you're looking for. You're looking for this section here, because in this section we're looking at conflict, and this part here it's looking at presenting these feelings. So we know that presenting our feelings all comes through smile, and obviously we're going to demonstrate that now. Sorry, in a minute. These part here for my point, I'm actually going to use this opening here, and then for my evidence, it's just going to be my quotation, preferably embedded, and then I'm going to look at analyzing it here. And that's going to be this section here, and then I'm going to be using the links, which is this section here. Now, this is for the unseen, but it's going to be very, very similar for the comparative section. So we're looking first at section B, then we're going to look at section A. So just so I can get this clear to you, make a P there, and then we're going to have the A, and then we're going to have the L. So let's see if we can make this work. So I'm going to get a paragraph going just under here, just so you can see how you develop it. So I've got my smile points, and you've got them on Facebook if you want to do this, and I would recommend practicing doing it with the notes that are up on Facebook. Please make use of them so you can get as much practice in before the exam. So we look over here, we've got a point. So I'm looking for things about conflict. Okay, so we get a sense of so the conflict that's happened, the state of Baghdad, because obviously that's to do with conflict in this poem. We get a sense of the state of Baghdad. So that's the in decay. So I didn't copy the whole part in decay. So that's from the conflict. The writer highlights. So now I'm going to have my evidence. I don't have the poem next to me, so I'm not going to be using it. But I know any of the images I have here are going to be from evidence. So I'm just going to pretend that I had my evidence there. And it's something to do with blood in a mosque or something like that. So I'm going to take this section here in relation to that. Okay, so I'm going to say this indicates okay, so I'm building into my analysis. This is the start of my analysis now. This indicates that even the places that are supposed to be peaceful have not been spared in the conflict, and has had a huge effect on everyone, as it has penetrated their most sacred places. Okay, now that's my just extension of the analysis. So we get a sense of the state of Baghdad in decay. There's blood on the walls of the sanctuary. This indicates that even the places that are supposed to be peaceful have not been spared in the conflict, and this has had a huge effect on everyone as it's penetrated their most sacred places. Now, to an extent, that's a bit tautologous. I'm saying similar things again, but I'm focusing on a slightly different thing. This is in general, I'm saying these peaceful places have been affected, and then I'm actually saying what happens because of that. I'm saying, well, this actually has affected the people because it's damaged their sacred places. So first of all, I'm saying there's no peace, and second, I'm saying basically it's upsetting people. That's the two kind of levels within that, and that's just the start of my analysis. Now I want to aid this further by adding more to it. I say, so this is furthered by For example, I'm just going to take this one. This is furthered by. So basically, you know, the idea I've got going on here at the beginning is that of conflict, etc. This is furthered by, and then I'm going to pick something else. So I've answered the question directly, but I want to show my skills, etc. So I'm going to pick on this part here, with the references to war. So I'm going to use that as my evidence. This is furthered by. So imagine that this is my evidence, whatever reference that I would have picked up from here. Just so you've got it there in your notes, references to war. Which remind us again and again that conflict through war is ever present in the poem. Okay, so there I've taken it to another step. I've just extended that, and now I'm going to do it again. Take this one, just kind of brighten it, right, I'll go for it again. I just have to change the start, so further emphasis is added through, and now I'm going to look at something else, through the I'm going to use this, obviously this one. Now this one I wouldn't actually have to put any evidence for, because it's something from structure. So this is further emphasis added through the rhyme scheme. It should. So basically, the only reason I'm extending these is because these were my notes. These are my smart points here are just notes. So I'm extending it so it's in a proper essay format here. Further emphasis added through the rhyme scheme. It should feel more cheery, but it does not. This is cleverly designed to create conflict within the poem itself rather than through its message, giving us an altogether capable feeling of awkwardness and conflict throughout. Okay, so you see this is all one point, and what I've done is I've actually built on it 2 or 3 times. So let's look over what I've done again. Here we've got the opening. We get a sense of state of decay, Baghdad in decay, blood on the walls of sanctuary, my quotation. This indicates that even the places that are supposed to be peaceful have not been spared in the conflict, and this has a huge effect on everyone, and it's penetrated their most sacred places. So if we can get the colours up on this just to show you where it's different. So this is just my analysis, okay? That's just my analysis. This is furthered by, and then I've got my quotation, a reference to war, which reminds us again and again that conflict through, through war is ever present in the poem, okay? So I've got that again, but I'm linking now to stretching it. Now I don't need to analyze that too deeply because I've kind of touched upon what I'm analyzing in that one. I'm just showing that I can link to a different skill here in language. Further emphasis is added through the rhyme scheme. It should feel more cheery, but it's not. This is cleverly designed to create conflict within the poem itself rather than through, that should actually say within the reading of the poem itself rather than through its message, giving us an altogether inescapable feeling of awkwardness and conflict throughout the poem. Okay, so, and I highlight that one differently again. So I hope you can see that in that, what most people would do is they would stop right there after they've done that one, or maybe they'd only put one thing. Here I've put 2, remember. So hopefully what you can see is you're just building it that way. Now you don't have to do this for every poem, for every poem or every point. So this here is, forgive me again for the pacing of this. This bit here is, it's not 2 words. I know it's not 2 words. Can you tell me how many words it is, please, Microsoft? There we go. Sorry, 123. So theoretically, that's 1/3 of your poem, of your analysis essay right there. If it's the unseen one, because you only have to do about a page and a half, or do as much as you feel you can get. But I'm just telling you because you've only got 20 minutes to write it, so you're not gonna be writing bucket loads. So here, or should I say tree loads? And here you've got everything you need to kind of just show a range of understanding. Because if you remember the last video where we actually looked at how it was marked, this is going to cover virtually all the things that actually you're being asked about. So whatever question you get, remember, you're going to always focus on the meaning first and foremost, which in this thing, the thing we've actually looked at is the conflict in the state of Baghdad, and then you've actually got it broken down in different sections. So that's how you would build it. I hope that makes sense. Just remember PEAL and then link 2 or 3 times, however much you feel comfortable with and however much you feel is strongest. If there's an original way of putting something, then put it in an original way, but just go as safe as has at the beginning. You can't go wrong. Now, the only difference that you would do, and we'll look at this in an A-star video, like I said, in a second. The only thing you would do for the comparison section, which is section A, which is 36 marks, is you do as above, but you link each paragraph, but within each paragraph, I'll just highlight that, swap the focus of your essay to the other poem, showing how it focuses on something similar or different in a way that is similar or different. Now, that bit's a little bit confusing. So basically, if the first poem is about conflict and the second poem is also about conflict, then that's great. You've got something similar, okay, in its kind of topic. All right. Now, if the first poem is about conflict, but the second poem's kind of more to do with the benefits of conflict, this is to do with the damage of conflict, and the second one's to do if the first one's to do with the damage of conflict, like this one, and the second one, say, was to do with the positive messages from conflict, then that would be completely different. So looking at the same thing in a very different way. Right, so that would be one way you can talk about comparison, and all you do is you'd use a switching phrase for the second one. You say however, so the first one focuses on blur, however the second one focuses on blur, or on the other hand focuses on blur. So the first one focuses on the first one focuses on something, and then the second name of the poem focuses on a different. So you can see here that's all these stock phrases that you've got here will be useful to you. Now, if they focus on something that's similar, but they do something different within it or same within it, this is how we'll write about it. So let's go back. If a poem focuses, say, on, like this one, the state of decay in Baghdad, and then another one focuses on the state of decay somewhere else. Let's just take that as a given. And then we say, and they similarly use, let's take a reference from this one, a lot of references to war. Now, if they use a lot of references to war, again, to remind us of war throughout, then it's doing a similar thing in a similar way. Now, look, it can do it another way as well. I might actually write up some examples in a minute in another video. Now, if it's focused on something different, but then also they might use something that's similar. So let's take colors. So let's take images here are used to, for example, make everything very vivid to us. Now, let's imagine that we're looking at a poem and we're saying these two poems are actually very different. One is focusing on how bad conflict is because of decay, it's how bad things become because of conflict, and one is focusing on how good something is because of conflict. However, they're both similar in that they use colors to really place the reader there or to make things very vivid in our minds, etc., etc., etc. So that's a way you could actually have something that's different, but they use a similar technique. Now, the easiest one to look at, or just the straightforward, makes probably more sense, is if we have a different focus and then we have a different way of actually using something. So again, if we've got a different poem, so the first one, like we said, again, sorry to keep repeating it, the first one's about the decay that comes about because of conflict, the second one's because of the positive repercussions, or the positive consequences of conflict, and they both use the references of the visitor taking everything in, for example, in an image, but it would be different in this case. So the first one might be because they're using it to see, like in this one, all the kind of the bloodshed and how sad everything is and how depressed and decrepit the place is. But the visitor in the other one could actually be a group, and they could be seeing how great it was. Okay, so that could be used that way. Or another way it could actually be different is that, you could say that it's not a visitor that's doing it, it's the narrator, we're hearing about it secondhand from a character. I hope that makes sense. It should do, but I will go through some examples of it with real anthology examples as well to make it a little clearer to you. So remember, something can be similar or different in a similar and different way. So it's kind of 2 levels within it. So you've got the first level where they were right. Is it similar or different in terms of the meaning? Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it. Imagine this meaning here as level 1. Okay, that's the most important one. That's the prime level. So similar and different in level 1 is grand. Similar and different anywhere else is what we're referring to in this second part here. So I'm just going to put a 1 next to this. If you've listened to that bit about 1 and prime for meaning, and the second one here, let's hope that makes some sense. Again, I'll do some examples. So hopefully 1, 2, 3. So for any of the 4 areas there, they're what's referenced in area 2, but similar or different, and that's for section 1. Now all you have to do is add or tag wherever you want the second element from here. So let's say this is further by reference to war, which remind us again and again that conflict through war is ever present in the poem. And then I'm just going to say an adding phrase here. So we also see, control copy, and we also see, and then I reference in there my second poem. You see, I might not tag into that there, okay, because I wouldn't really need to. That would probably be too much. You wouldn't really switch and then just kind of return to that first point again. It wouldn't make sense. So it would make sense to go from poem A to poem B and then maybe go back to poem A from whatever you've written at the end of poem B, but it wouldn't make sense for you to just go back to this point here about conflict unless you've linked it to whatever you're going to write at the end of this section here. So you can do that part there, and then you can use anything. If it was a switching phrase, well, this is what it's a lame name I'm actually calling him. So I'll go here. So imagine it was instead of this, it was something different. We'll just look at that, and then we're just there. On the other hand, and then we can actually discuss that one. So either way you want to do it, that's the way to go about it for the comparison one. So bear these in mind. They're the most important ones, and bear peel in mind as well. So when you're looking at the unseen one, it's just peel on its own. Point, evidence, analyze, and then link it 2 or 3 times to something else from smile. With the other one, with the original one, the one worth more marks, remember to spend more time in this one, you've got to do exactly the same thing, because that's a skill you're trying to do, but then also add in the linking sections to paragraphs, and then keep this all one paragraph. And we're going to look at that now in an A-star top band essay.